Welcome in. I'm Tony Altieri, and that is Riku Mukherjee. And this is the 5 of 6 Golf Show. Rick, we came close last week, man. Me and you were both sweating a Putnam deal, and I wasn't sweating it necessarily from a ticket perspective like you were, but had a lot of DraftKings with him and Keegan. But I know you were rooting hard for Putnam down the stretch.
I was for the beginning part of Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I had a lineup shoot up towards the top 10 in the 888 on DraftKings that had no Putnam in it, that had Bradley. So when Bradley took the lead, when Keegan took the lead, I shot up and I was winning like 25K or something like that. So then I was rooting for Keegan to win. And then on hold like 14 or 15, something like that, my winning shot back down. I think the rest of my lineup kind of fizzled out a little bit. So I was only winning like a couple thousand. And then it became a situation where I was rooting for Putnam to win so I could hit my ticket. So I was a little roller coaster there for a little while. I guess overall I was just trying to hit the Putnam ticket because it was 100 to 1 and I had $100 on it to win 10K. So that would have been nice. But and then my heart was just kind of rooting for Ricky Fowler.
Yeah. It was nice to see Fowler play well. Although I mentioned this to a buddy of mine today, watching, because you and I stayed up and watched basically in the tournament in the middle of the night. And dude, every single putt, he looked so nervous. I don't care whether it was 5 feet or 50 feet. It looked like he was shaky. And when he hit it, he was like relieved. Like I've never seen him that tense over putts before, but every single putt that he hit on Sunday/Saturday night, it just seemed like the dude was like on pins and needles.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been in that position in 6 years, 7 years, something like that, like a leading going into a Sunday. I don't even remember the last time he had that. I mean, nerves got the best of him. And I will say one thing. I'm not going to shy away from playing some Ricky Fowler moving forward because it looks like he's back. And I think he's already racked up more FedEx Cup points this swing season than he did the entire season last year, which is incredible. He's played like 3 events and he already has more FedEx Cup points. So, I mean, I don't want to say he's locked up his card already for next year, but he's kind of already locked up a spot like towards the top of the, FedEx Cup standing. So we'll see. He's obviously like my second favorite golfer of all time behind Tiger Woods. So I'm definitely rooting for him to grab a victory. I'm happy he didn't go over to live. So yeah, man, it was nice to see him up there. He's playing well this season. He's back with Butch Harmon. He has a new caddy. But yeah, that was definitely my draw to watch, just from a personal standpoint. I mean, financially, I was rooting for other guys. But yeah, I'm not going to hesitate to play some Ricky Fowler moving forward.
Yeah, it's 7K this week on DraftKings. I mean, there's obviously, I think he's going to be one of the most popular guys after everybody watched him do what he did last week. And to your point about what he's doing in the swing season, we saw this with other guys last year where really good play and wins in the swing season got guys into the playoffs late into the season and can give you an opportunity to make it all the way to the Tour Championship. So I'm excited for Ricky. You and I will be playing his home course here in Marietta next week on Monday. Playing a golf tournament out there. So looking forward to that.
I need to pay for that. I totally forgot.
Ari is gonna come after you if you don't pay for it.
I'll take care of it right after this.
But I'm excited to play Bear Creek, home of Ricky Fowler, and I will be playing Ricky as well this week. We've got another interesting tournament on the docket for the week, the CJ Cup, which was supposed to be from Korea, and then the pandemic hit, and now it's like whoever wants it gets it. We've seen it at Summit Club. We've seen it at Nine Bridges. And now here we are at another course, which has never hosted this event before, but did host, as you mentioned last week, the Palmetto, which was won by Garrett Higo. There are a handful of guys who have played this tournament, or I should say this course, that are playing this week in the CJ Cup. We've got them noted. I did not consider any course history in my modeling this week, or I should say tournament history, because it is a new course. But if a guy did play in the Palmetto, I did add that to my model this week. I am factoring that in just because it's a unique setup, right? It's a sandbelt style, Australian linksy style course, very different from everything else on tour. Long 7,100, par 71, 7,600 yards. So a lot of distance tied up in a par 71 course. And it's an interesting setup. Another no-cut event, 78 guys with, half a dozen random Korean guys in the field this week. But overall, a pretty good field, stacked at the top of the board.
Yeah, I was actually very shocked when I saw the field this morning. I did not expect these guys, Rory, JT, Scheffler, Rahm. I was not expecting them to be here at the top of this board. I literally opened up Fantasy National this morning when I got to work, and I clicked DraftKings pricing for the CJ Cup, and those names popped up. I was like, man, do I have the wrong filter here? Do I have the wrong tab? Because I was not expecting these guys to be in this field. I was very confused for a minute, but yeah, it looks like we have a pretty top heavy field here. A lot of good players here. I guess the concept of having a pretty prestigious event in America is appealing to these guys because of the less of travel. But yeah, there's 19 guys here in this entire field that played in the Palmetto Championship last year. So we'll talk about that. We can lean on that a little bit, but overall, like you said, this is a course that has no rough. Bombers are a little bit of an advantage here. Kind of reminds me of Pinehurst a little bit. It's in that part of the world. So we kind of lean on guys that are from the Southeast, from the Georgia area, from the South Carolina area. So yeah, let's get into it. We wanted to do a quick short pod today, so let's hop right in.
Absolutely. I'm following your lead here. Let's jump right to the top of the board. The betting favorites and the guys all above 10K. Rory, Rahm, Scheffler, and Thomas. Interesting enough, there's a number of guys who we've seen on the PGA Tour that we kept waiting for a win to happen, and they ended up playing in that kind of weird swing end of the season in Europe, and a bunch of guys got wins. Rory got a win, Lowry got a win, Rahm got a win, Fitz got a win. All of these guys that we've been waiting to get wins in the U.S. Obviously, Fitz got the U.S. Open win, but they all won in Europe, and none of that's factored into any of these stats because these are PGA Tour stats. But there's a number of guys coming in great form. Rahm obviously won a hit and giggle in Spain, which I think he's won 3 out of the last 4 years that he's played in it. But Who do you like at the top of the board? Who's your pick here? Where do you think ownership is going to pool above 10K?
Unfortunately, I don't. My site doesn't have ownership projections right now, so I'm just going to be purely guessing in that aspect. But I'm just going to roll with Rory here, man. I mean, he's been phenomenal. His last 5 outings are nothing but top 10s, a win, a second, 2 fourths, and an eighth. His last 5 events that he's played in. He's driving distance wise. He's the longest player in this field. I even looked up last 50 rounds driving distance gained. He's even longer than Cam Young and Trey Mullinax and those guys. Can't go wrong with Rory. I think he's the class of this field. I truly think. I don't know if this is a little far-fetched to say or not, but I truly think he is the best player in the world at the moment. Even though the numbers say Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 ranked player and stuff like that, but I think Rory is the best player in the world at the moment. So he's appropriately priced at 11-1. I can't see anything worse than a top 10 finish from him either here at this tournament. So I'll roll with him. If I was to guess ownership, I would probably say it's going to be Rory and Rahm that are going to, take the majority of the ownership. And Scotty Scheffler is probably going to be the lowest owned guy in this range just because he hasn't had the greatest form. His putter's broken. He looks like he hasn't gained strokes putting in forever. So people might be a little hesitant to click that name. At 10-4, they'd probably just save the $200 and try to go down to JT. But if you're gonna ask me to pick one of these 4 guys, it's gonna be Rory, and then the second favorite play is gonna be Rahm, and I'll just fade Scotty and Justin Thomas here.
Yeah, it's interesting enough. I was just looking at his PGA Tour stats here. Rory, since basically he missed the cut at the Valero in April, he's gone 2nd, 5th, 8th, 18th, 1st, 5th, 19th, 3rd, a missed cut at the FedEx St. Jude, which was kind of an anomaly, 8th at the BMW, and then obviously wins the Tour Championship. I mean, just an unbelievable run, and that doesn't even include what he's been doing over in Europe. So, Again, I understand everything you're saying, and it's really, really difficult to stay away from him. I think for me, and this may sound insane based off of everything that you just threw out there, but I may end up just fading the entire 10K and above guys and going down and trying to build something like in the 8s and 9Ks, just because those areas are so strong as well with some guys that are playing really, really well. But I can't argue with anything you've said. Rory is, I think, the most consistent guy. His floor is very, very high. Rahm, you really wonder about his motivation. It seems like when he's motivated to play well that no one can beat him, but it seems so few and far between. Scheffler's been weird. Scheffler's the one that I think if anybody's going to be under-owned in this range, it's probably him, because I think for most of us, even though he has been very good, there seems to be some level of inconsistency in his game that the other three guys really don't have. And to your point about JT for a $200 discount, like, again, what's not to love about Justin Thomas?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't actually mind fading the whole 10K range either, like you said. Seems like it could be a little contrarian play because I think most people are going to click on one of these names up here. I don't know about you, man. I still feel weird clicking on Scotty Scheffler when he's $10,000 or above. I know he hasn't been below $10,000 in a really long time, but I just wish, man, give me a $9,800 Scotty Scheffler. I'll play him all day. But the 10-4 like scares me away. I just don't think he's. I just don't think he's. I get that he's the number one player in the world, but I just don't think he's that good where he deserves a 10-4 pricing here. He's not in the same class as these other three guys. I just don't think he is.
Yeah, I mean, you look,
which is hard to say because he won the Masters. He's won.
Well, I mean, he had that run from Phoenix where he basically won 3 times in 5 tournaments. Phoenix at the Phoenix Open, the Arnold Palmer, and the Masters. I mean, outside of that stretch, he still has 1, 2, 3, 4 top 5 finishes with 3 seconds and a third, including a second at the Tour Championship. So, I mean, it's not like he's been bad, but he does, to your point, have sprinkled in there some missed cuts, you know, a 21st and 18th. And for a guy that's priced above $10,000, you know, again, when you're comparing him to Rahm and to Rory and even JT in some respect, it feels like he's like, to your point, a click below. I mean, the thing that's amazing about him is if you look at his stats, it's really been the putter that has let him down. I mean, he's consistently, his last 5, he's gaining almost 3 strokes on approach. Last 10, 3 strokes on approach. Off the tee, three strokes. Last 10, he's 2 strokes off the tee. So tee to green, the guy's been gaining 5 to 6 strokes on the field for the last basically 20 plus rounds. But it's been the putter, and as of late, he's been losing bleeding strokes, 2 strokes. He's losing 2 strokes versus the field. You know, at the Tour Championship, even though he finished in second place, he lost almost 4 strokes putting versus the other 29 guys in that field. So that's the part of it to me is you just wonder. Bermuda is not typically his best surface. You know, we think of Scotty, we think of Bent. Again, he's not the best POA putter, but you know, he is from Texas, so it is one of those things. Interestingly enough, when you look at the Palmetto top 10, like we talked about, there's a lot of distance wrapped up in a par 71. But, you know, outside of Higo, DJ, and Johnny Vegas, not a lot of bombers in the top 10 there. So, you know, it's kind of one of those places where I do believe when you look at it statistically, off the tee, it is as important as approach play, but it doesn't necessarily equate strictly to distance, right? Good drives, finding fairways, positional areas, like the ability to use the driver as a weapon, not necessarily for distance purposes, is important here, and maybe more important than any other course on tour, just by looking at the raw numbers. And again, it's a very small sample size. We've got one event that happened here a few years ago, and it was kind of an on field. But, you know, it's interesting because I do think there are a number of ways to win here, but you've got to be good off the tee if you want to try and finish in the top 10 in this event, in my opinion.
I haven't done that much research on this. Is it going to be set up the same way as it was in the Palmetto? Like, any changes or anything like that?
I'm sure there will be changes. There's been no significant re-architecture to the course.
Okay.
But I would imagine that they will be moving tee boxes around. They will be changing angles, doing those kinds of things, especially because this is an invitational with a much better field than we saw in the Palmetto. I imagine the Palmetto had played at, I think, 11 under is what Higo won it at, that it's probably going to be a little bit tougher even than that. So you could see some very, very long par 4s, some long par 3s. And like we talked about, you mentioned that there's not a lot of trees, but there are massive sand waste bunkers where you can ground clubs. And so being in the short stuff, being off on the grass versus hitting out of, you know, these native areas is going to be a big advantage. So again, if you're 330 and in a waste bunker, that's probably not as good as being 280 from the middle of the fairway. So just my opinion. I know a lot of people are mentioning bombers this week because of the length of the course, but I do think there are better ways to attack this off the tee, and I think you'll see a lot of guys club down.
Speaking of Garrett Higo, why is he not in his field?
It is an invitational, so I don't know if he qualified. I don't
that's
know
true. I
the
didn't even think about that.
qualifications.
Just because I guess just because he won this event, which wasn't I guess I didn't even think about that. I was like, why in the world would he not be in this field?
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably wasn't invited. You're right.
Yeah. Dropping down into the next tier, a bunch of other really good names. To be honest with you, I am peppering this area on the betting card side. I jumped in early, got a bunch of numbers like in the high 20s on basically every guy in this range, and there's a lot to love. Obviously, I was all over Hovland last week, but I love Fitz here. He does have a top 10 here at the Palmetto when it was played at this course. Sungjae obviously just continues, even though last week wasn't the best showing for him in Japan. And I do want to ask you about that. Like, how much you factor that in? How much you factor the fact that these guys are flying from Japan? I realize they're not flying southwest from Japan to South Carolina, but still, I mean, dude, it's, 15, 16 hours on a plane across the Pacific Ocean and across the United States to get here. How much do you factor those guys?
I'm factoring it in. I don't like Sungjae at all this week, especially because he played in Vegas the week before. So he went from Vegas to Japan, now back to Carolina in a matter of 2 weeks. I mean, that takes a toll on a body. I don't care how much of a robot or how much of a machine he is. Like, that takes a toll on you. And even the likes of like Tom Kim is taking a break this week. And that guy is 20 years old and can play every single week, golf every single week of the year. So, I think I'm going to fade Sungjae here, man. I don't like that travel. He didn't play that great last week. He was in my main lineup, the lineup that I was talking about earlier. He was the head of that lineup with Sungjae and Bradley. If I had just started that lineup with Xander or somebody else, I would have been in much better shape last week. So I'm going to get away from Sungjae here. You nailed it, man. Matt Fitzpatrick at the top here, 9,800. He's going to be the staple of a lot of my lineups here. He's my favorite play in this range. He's probably my pick to win. I'm going to bet him for sure. I haven't placed any bets yet, but I'm definitely going to bet Matt Fitzpatrick here. Had 10th place here at the Palmetto last year. I love him. I don't know what else to say. This course just sets up perfectly. He's not one of those guys that we think is a bomber, but he actually is a bomber now. This guy is super long off the tee all of a sudden, and he's just phenomenal. So I will go to him. I will never hesitate to play Matt Fitzpatrick ever again after he won the U.S. Open. He's an absolute stud. Other than him here, Victor Hovland, for some reason, Victor Hovland just doesn't play well in the States at times. So I think he's just an overseas guy. So I think I'll get away from him. I'd rather go to like Burns and Homa here. I think those are the two better plays here. So for me, it's going to be Fitzy 1, Burns 2, Homa 3, and then I'll fade Sungjae and Vic. And I don't really have any feelings about Morikawa.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Burns is the one for me that's a bit of a quandary. We've been watching him recently here, and it hasn't been great. His last 5 tournaments, he's basically been losing on approach and tee to green. I don't know what's going on. A lot of that is coming from the Tour Championship where he basically imploded. He lost 6 strokes tee to green. We saw him come back at the Sanderson's Farm and finish top 30. We saw the ball striking come back. He's gaining 4 off the tee. 1.2 on approach and finished, tee to green almost 5 strokes versus the field. And we saw the putter basically, give him fits that weekend. I haven't really seen that elite level of play. Again, we're back on Bermuda, which we always love Burns on Bermuda. We love him in the Southeast. He's a Southeast guy from Louisiana. So, this is his hood, quote unquote. But I mean, I'm looking at these results. Sanderson's, he had 30, the Tour Championship, he finished 24th, 19th at the BMW, 20th at the St. Jude. There's nothing like amazing about what he's been doing. So I'm hesitant at the price point there, especially with so many options here. I do have concerns like you, though, about a lot of these guys that are traveling back from Japan. But I would say if I was to rank them, I'm right there with you with Fitz. A lot of it is going to come down to ownership overall, and I think everybody's going to jump on the Fitz bandwagon this week. So I have to see where other people kind of migrate to in this area. I feel like you. Sungjae, I don't like him for DraftKings. He might be a bet for me, just thinking, okay, maybe he finally breaks through, but I don't think that I can play him on DraftKings this week. Just because he's just, again, there's just something I'm not seeing with him. So I think it's Fitz 1, Hovland 2, And then I'll probably, because of the price point, I feel like we're getting a discount for Morikawa, and I recognize all of the things I said about Burns and how he's been playing, you can apply to Morikawa. It's just kind of the same thing. There's just been nothing amazing about what's going on, but you're also getting a discount of $300. So I'll probably say that's my three: Fitz, Hovland, and Morikawa in this range.
Yeah, I like that. I want to correct myself from earlier. I said Tom Kim's not in this field. I thought he wasn't in this field because he's not in the 9K range. He's in the next range. That's shocking to me. I literally can't believe Tom Kim's not in this range right here. He should be in this range. He deserves to be in this range. You just plug him in there right at 9,400, right above Sam Burns, and he deserves that pricing. We can get right into it. 8,900 is just a phenomenal price on Tom Kim, and I'm going to play some Tom Kim this week at that price.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? You mentioned Tom Kim, and we finally saw, I think for the first time, I don't know if it was fatigue or just, maybe letting off the gas a little bit, but he looked human, right? We saw a number of times during the tournament, the swings off the tee, he was letting go one-handed swings. He was in the bunkers a lot. He was missing greens. Like, he was so precise for such a long period of time. And then watching him this week, he just looked a little off. And again, it could be the fact that he flew from the States to Japan and he had just gotten a win and all of these things, but it was the first time that he actually looked slightly human out there on the golf course instead of just being the machine that he is.
Yeah. It's golf, man. It happens. Like he's 20 years old. He's not even 21 yet. And he wants to play golf every week. He's just started to earn 6-7 figure paychecks every week. He wants to play every week. He won at the Wyndham in this part of the world a month ago, or 2 months ago or something like that. So he's back in a place where in a part of the world that he likes. Obviously, he has some good vibes here. This price I'm just shocked because when I didn't see him in the 9K range, I thought he wasn't in the field. So I can't get away from an 8,900 Tom Kim. No matter I have to take a stab at it. You're going to get 4 rounds out of him at this price point. I don't really like that many people in this range. I like Tom Kim. I like Cam Young. I like Taylor Montgomery. Keegan coming off a win. I'm not really into that. I'll maybe rather go to someone like Sahith down there. But yeah, man, I think I'm going to have to say that Tom Kim or Cam Young are my favorite plays in this range. Ty Hatton finished runner-up to Garrett Kigo at this event last year, so a little bit of course history for him there. 45th place finish last week for Ty at the ZOZO, so nothing to write home about there. So maybe just a GPP play, but not like a cash game play or anything like that. So who do you like in this range? Because I think I'm just going to stick with my guns, the guys that I usually play every week here, and just roll with them.
Yeah, I love the Young call. I think he's going to be super popular. You talk about a guy who mashes the ball off the tee, but is very accurate. Cam Young's best weapon is his driver, and it's not purely for distance. It's because he is surgical with that thing. So I love Cam Young at 8,600. The other guy that I like that's been playing very good, again, you can take all the things I just put out there about Cam Young and apply them to him, is Taylor Montgomery. His off the tee game is the best of the best on tour. We saw him do it on the Corn Ferry Tour last year. And here he is again. We're getting him at 8,200, and he just continues to play very, very well in these big fields. So I'm going to continue to ride Taylor Montgomery there. The guy that I want to play, I'm gonna sprinkle in some Hatton as well too, just because he's got experience here, and it feels like a Euro international style course. But I think a lot of people are going to ride that narrative as well and see the result from the Palmetto and also jump in on that. But, it feels like this should be a Corey Connors course. You talk about a guy who's surgical off the tee, but can have some distance, amazing greens and regulation. And the other thing about this course is there's not a lot of green and regulation. Corey is one of the best guys in GIR. And again, it's just whether or not the putter can flip. And we've seen it. The ball striking continues to be there. You go back his last 5, his last 10, his last 20, and he's gaining tee to green 4 strokes, 5 strokes, 4 strokes. So he continues to be a machine tee to green, and we just got to hope that the putter flips. And I feel like we're finally going to get somewhat of an ownership discount on him this week because he has quote unquote disappointed the last couple of weeks, right? When everybody's been like Corey Connors, it's like, he did okay, nothing great. So I think purely from an ownership standpoint, if I can get Corey Connors at some depressed numbers, sub 12%, I think I like that, and I could jump back on him. So he's going to be another guy I'll throw into the mix.
Any love for Billy Horschel? This is the part of the world that he plays well.
Dude, I get the Billy Horschel narrative. Like, I fully get it. I can never get there. Like, you talk about, like,
I can't do it either.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, Bermuda is his best surface. He's a Florida guy. He's been playing pretty damn well. He played the little Euro stretch with everybody else. But, if he shows up and beats me like he did at the Memorial, I'll tip my hat. But I don't know. I can't get there with Billy Horschel. For me, on DraftKings on him, it's really going to depend on ownership. If he's coming in like, 4, 5, 6% ownership, you're damn right I'm going to sprinkle in some Billy Horschel because I want that ownership advantage versus the field. But if he's coming in at like, 10 to 12%, that's as much as I'd own him anyways, and I'm probably out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably out too. He's just too much of a douche for me to play him. So,
what about last guy I'll throw at you? What about Lowry? What about Shane Lowry?
What has he been doing? What has Shane Lowry been up to? 87.
Well, he won over in Europe.
He won. Yeah, he won.
Yeah, so he finally got his win over in Europe, but 12th at the BMW. He finished top 50 at the FedEx St. Jude. He missed at the Wyndham. So again, nothing great.
I don't mind him. 17th in your model. That's a pretty good number. He played well at what was the name of the course that the Phil Mickelson won at his major? Kiawah Island. Yeah,
Island.
That's in this part of the world, right? And
absolutely,
Shane Lowry played great at that event. Maybe he has some good vibes in the Southeast here. I don't mind it. I think Keegan, I think people that are just kind of generic players and just like don't really follow golf too much, that are just like maybe NFL fantasy players or whatever, they'll click Keegan's name here and they'll see that he has a first place finish and a fifth place finish his last two events, and they'll probably click his name. They'll see Ty Hatton and click his name because they'll see he got a second place finish here last year. So I think ownership wise, and then obviously Taylor Montgomery, his finishes have just been phenomenal. I actually think Shane Lowry might be a little bit of a squeeze play here. Like, I think his ownership is going to be way down. I think the normal people are just going to kind of flock to the guys above him and then the guys below him, and he might get you might get a nice discount in ownership here. And if that's the case, once I see some ownership numbers, I definitely won't hesitate to play some Shane Lowry. He is a world-class player. He probably deserves to be priced higher than the likes of like Cam Young and Hideki Matsuyama and Tom Kim, just from a skill level standpoint. And you're getting kind of a discount here.
Yeah, and we talk about like these Euro guys, grinders like Hatton, Shane Lowry. I feel like I like those guys better at tracks where there's not a ton of scoring, right? Where you don't have to be, 17, 18, 20, 22 under. We talked about, Higo won this at 11 under, and it may play a little bit tougher. We're not 100% sure. But if it does play tougher or we do get some wind, like that seems like a great recipe for a guy like Lowry.
Yeah, I like the call here. Once again, just to kind of reiterate my favorite players here in case you guys don't follow us week to week. Tom Kim, Cam Young, and Taylor Montgomery are going to be my favorite players in this range just because I absolutely love those guys and I play them week to week. Did we even talk about Spieth here? I mean, is it worth it? I mean, he went 5-0 at the President's Cup. He was on fire at the President's Cup.
Dude, yeah, you're right. And he's been playing great golf. The one place where he has struggled, but he has gotten the ship righted has been off the tee. Mm-hmm. He's been fantastic now for, the last probably, 20 tournaments. He's just been really, really good off the tee.
Yeah.
And he's been fairly consistent, right? Kind of low, or I should say high floor, low ceiling. I just, for me this week, I don't know. I think to your point about Tom Kim and about Cam Young, I just think they're better options.
Yeah.
I am a complete fade of Hideki until I see some signs of life from that guy.
Yeah, man. I ended up fading him completely last week just because even though I talked him up and was like, oh my God, first place finish, second place finish, I was like, the ownership is there and I just don't see it from him. So I completely faded him last week, which was the right decision at the end.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to your comment about Spieth, I guess – if I see ridiculously low ownership, kind of the same comment I made earlier, then I may end up sprinkling some in, kind of like Horschel. But if he ends up coming in anything north of like 10%, I'm completely out on Jordan Spieth.
Okay. I don't mind that. I think we're kind of on the same page in this range. I don't really see anything that we didn't like talk about or didn't like really, digest here. So I think we're on the same page here. So I think I really like this range. I think this is where the GPPs are going to be won this week. So if you nail this range, you're gonna have a good lineup.
Yep. I also think this range here, the 7Ks, is going to be important. You and I were talking off air before we jumped on about Fowler, right? Like just the fact that, 7,400, he's showing signs of life. The ball striking's been very, very good. Where he has struggled has been with the putter, and that was visible watching that tournament down the stretch. Yeah. And again, he hasn't been in contention in a long time, but at $7,400, you got to love that play. I like Hadwin as well, right below him. This is the first time I think that I've run these statistical models and Russell Henley hasn't been like in the top 5. This is, again, statistically, he still rates out really well, but his form's been dog trash. And obviously he didn't play at the Palmetto, so that the tournament history, quote unquote, isn't factored in. The guy that I want to ask you about is Emiliano Grillo, right at the top, 7,900. I feel like he's going to be uber chalky, but the dude has been just a freaking train. I mean, just racking up just phenomenal finishes. Do you think he's going to be the most heavily owned guy in this tournament? And do you think it's time to jump off, or do you feel like there's a win coming for this guy?
I definitely think he's going to be the highest owned guy like in this range, like from like 75 to like 79. I don't know about the highest owned for the whole slate, but he's definitely going to be super popular. Give me Aaron Wise over him. Aaron Wise was $9,900 2 weeks ago, wherever he was playing, and now he's 7,800. That he's a bomber off the tee. I think we're going to get a significant ownership discount off of Emiliano Grillo and even off of McNeely. McNeely's been playing great recently. What did he finish? He finished 12th last week, 10th the week before. So I think ownership right there, you're going to see it flood towards the top right there, the 7,900 guys. And I think you're going to get an ownership break on Aaron Wise, who I don't mind here. He had a 6th place finishes out a couple events ago. And then before that, it was nothing but top 20, top 30 finishes. So at 7,800, which is a significant price difference than what he was 2 weeks ago, a cheap Aaron Wise, I think he's the class of, this range as far as like talent wise goes. So I'd rather play Aaron Wise. I don't know, man. I just never really click on Grillo's name. Like he scares me with his putting. He can just go so sideways really fast for him.
Yeah.
And I also, is it me? But it's like Grillo, like more of like a West Coast guy. Like I always feel like he plays better on the West Coast. Is he really a Southeast America kind of guy? Like I don't really remember him like having good finishes in Florida or this part of the world. But I may be wrong about that. It's just kind of pulling that out of my head. But yeah, I like Aaron Wise here. Just looking at it, man, Mito just literally killed me last week. He played so well in round 1, and then he shot like an 80 or like a 79 in round 2, which is like sunk my main lineup there. But I'll go back to him. It seems like a good course for him, and he's been playing pretty good golf recently. So I don't mind it. But yeah, I don't really have a thought about Emiliano Grillo other than I think he's going to be super highly owned, and I'd rather pivot to Aaron Wise. And something just crashed in your background.
Yeah. We have some shuffling going on back over here in the background, but that's okay.
I thought I heard a glass break.
I'm with you on Aaron Wise. I love the call there. The other guy that I absolutely love, and I've been riding him every single week, and he just continues to perform, is Hoagie, man. The guy has just been a machine.
Yep.
You look at the finishes on this guy. I mean, 9th last week, 4th at the Shriners, 12th at the Fortinet, 10th at the Tour Championship. I mean, he's just been great. His approach stats are off the charts. The off the tee game is the one area where he's a little sketchy compared to the other guys that are in the top 10 statistically. And like I mentioned, this is one of the few courses where off the tee game is probably as statistically as important as approaches. But again, until I see some chinks in the armor, like I'm going to keep playing Hoagie, dude. He's just been so good tee to green.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. I mean, he was played pretty phenomenally last week, and he was in my showdown lineup on Sunday. I finally clicked his name. It was like the first time all week or like in a couple weeks that I've clicked his name. So definitely don't mind the hoagie call. I mean, the other guy we have to talk about him. I mean, he's been on fire, and we can't deny his form. Is Andrew Putnam here at 7,400?
Yep.
Just absolutely on fire here. Like he obviously had the second place last week, 12th the week before that. You know, he's been in really good form. A little bit of a price bump here from the 6K range to 7,400, so that's a little scary. But fourth overall in your model, 7,400. That seems like a smash play for me. I definitely like that play. Dropping down a little bit more here, Ricky Fowler, like we said, 7,400. I will not be scared to play him this week. I think that part of me that was always scared to play him, I think I've kind of swallowed that, and until he gets back to being consistently bad, I'll ride him, especially at a $7,400 price here. And yeah, I mean, I'll play the usual guys that I always play down here in the low 7Ks. SH Kim, I've been riding him all swing season. He's been phenomenal week in, week out. His Corn Ferry grad that we know has been playing really well. Taylor Moore, I play every single week. He just somehow makes his way into my lineups and he performs. I think what did he end up finishing last week? Taylor Moore was 12th at the ZOZO, so good finish for him. Kitayama, bombs it off the tee. If we're going to play the bomber narrative, what did I say? He's sixth in the field in driving distance, so I don't mind some Kitayama. Keith Mitchell, 7,200. I like that. Bermuda greens. He's a bomber. It's part of the world that he plays pretty well at. So those are the names I'll be riding this week for sure.
Yeah, I like all those called. The only thing that scares me a little bit about Taylor Moore is, Bermuda is probably his worst putting surface. He's a guy who gains pretty consistently across the board with putting, and Bermuda is the one surface where he is not Superman. But again, he's been so consistent. I will probably end up rolling the dice with him, especially at the price point there at 7,000. Love the Kitayama call. Your boy Fake Siwoo there at 7,100.
No, man, he's SH Kim. You can't call him Fake Siwoo anymore. He's just as good as Siwoo.
All right, we'll call him SH Kim. We got to get him an English name like your boy Tom King does. I don't know. Like I said, I think we threw out Mickey Kim is what I'm going to call him. But I do think SH sets up real well as well too. Other than that, the only other guy that I hate to say it because I was talking trash about him, is Henley, just because it feels like he consistently shows up. He never wins tournaments, but he always shows up. He always ends up top 10ing, and I recognize that has not been the case as of late. But I mean, we're used to getting him in 8 and 9K, and here he is at 73, massive discount. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get there and click the name, but overall, he's a fairly decent play at 7,300. Again, to my estimation, just based on long-term form.
Yeah, that's a pretty cheap price for him. I didn't even I kind of always gloss over his name. I didn't really see it. I was looking at some other names around there, but that's a pretty good price. I don't mind the 7,300. I also don't mind the 7,100 on JT Poston. He's a Carolina guy, and
yep.
This is obviously kind of a homecoming kind of narrative for him or whatever. But this guy was priced above $10,000.
Just 2 or 3 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, we're getting him at 7,100 now. That's a pretty sick price. I mean, I don't mind that call right there at 7,100 on JT Poston either.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, not to circle back to Henley, but this is his best putting surface by far. Typically loses on bent, barely gains on POA, and he gains a lot on Bermuda. So get him back on Bermuda, again, just from purely where a discount, right? His price point, that I feel like there's an opportunity there. No one's going to own him this week, which is rare. Usually he's chalk as chalk gets, but no one's going to be on him this week at 7,300. So I think I could circle back there.
All right, let's get into the dumpster.
Dropping down into the dumpster, there's still names. It's a 7,800 man field or 78 man field. And even at the 6Ks, there's some really good options. All throughout the guys I like down here, and some of the guys are because of the discount. Davis Riley is a guy who consistently was, I get it, but he was consistently in the 8 and 9.
Did he finish DFL last week? I'm pretty sure he finished.
He might have finished DFL last week. He's been struggling, man. I don't know what the deal is with him. But if you again, just thinking about where he typically is priced, He finished 67th out of 78 golfers last week. He lost 6.4 strokes total. We don't have strokes gained metrics from the ZOZO. But, 19th at the Sandersons. You go back a little ways. Wyndham, which is in this part of the world, he was 19th. The off the tee and approach has still been there. It's really been the putter that he's been struggling with. So again, I just purely from the discount, again, similar to Henley, I like Davis Riley. I will always play Luke List. Webb Simpson at 6,700. Are you kidding me?
That's unreal.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
Gary Woodland at 6,400. I mean, these are names. These guys are major
These
winners.
are real golfers.
Yeah, this is not Bio Kim and Chen Min Yong. These are like big time PGA golfers who've been on the tour winning tournaments for 10 plus years. So those are the names I like down here. Even JJ Spawn, Spawn's been playing very, very well since he won. And so all of those guys are there. Mullinex, who had a win, basically last year. But again, if we're playing the bomber narrative off the tee, he is an elite player off of the tee. So Mullinex is another guy to throw into the mix for guys I like down here.
Yeah, it seems like this pricing is very soft in this tournament because this is some unreal names. I mean, even like the names like Brendan Todd and Brendan Steele, like at 6,400, like these are like 7K golfers usually. Like, there's no reason why they should be in the 6K range. Chris Kirk, 6,600, he's a real golfer.
Yep.
I'll just I'll just roll with Wyndham Clark again. He was in the staple. He was a staple in my main lineup last week. He is a bomber. He's been playing pretty well recently. I definitely will roll with him again this week, especially in a no-cut event. I know he can go a little wonky sometimes, so I'll definitely play some Wyndham Clark, where I know I'm going to get 4 rounds out of him for sure. And if you're going to sit here and try to jam in Rory and Rahm up top and you need to drop down low, I mean, I honestly think Chez Reavie is mispriced at 6,000. Like, he shouldn't be 6,000.
So weird.
Why is he 6,000? He literally won on the PGA Tour like 2 months ago or something like that. He won what are they called? On Ultimate. Yeah, exactly. And he finished 14th here last year at the Palmetto. So 6,000 Chez Reavie, that's a pretty good price. Other than that, Webb Simpson, he's a Carolina guy. You could, say that this is a kind of an area that he's comfortable playing. Trey Mullinax, I love him. He's a bomber off the tee, 6,600. Harris English, I don't know. He's been playing better recently. 14th place finish here last year. I don't know. I'd rather go to someone like, I don't know, Gary Woodland, like you said, or Lee Hodges, who's been playing pretty well recently. But yeah, I think my favorite player is going to be here. It's going to be Wyndham Clark, Trey Mullinax, and just for a price discount, Chez Reavie at 6,000. I like that call.
Yeah. Like all those calls, I do like Lee Hodges as well. And I'm going to go back to Brendan Steele. The ball striking off the tee and approach is still elite levels. We just need him not to lose 4 or 5 strokes putting. It's basically the same narrative as Luke List. And you're getting a $500 discount off of Luke List. So I like both of those guys down here. Again, it's a no-cut event. You just need the putter to flip. And if the putter flips, the ball striking will continue to be there. So I like both of those guys. Any early leans on bets for the week? I know we talked about it. We haven't really dumped anything. I made some early bets this week just looking at the numbers basically first thing this morning. So I can rattle off a couple of the ones. And again, we'll post our betting cards on Twitter and in the Discord to be able to give you guys who are on this week. But, I think I'm going to go like I mentioned, I think I'm just going to stay peppered in that basically 20 to 40 range. I just think there's a lot of value there. So here's what's on my card so far. Cam Young, 28 to 1. Aaron Wise, I got at 60. I've seen him down at like 40, 45.
Ooh, he's 50 right now on my site.
Yeah, so I got him at 60 this morning. Webb Simpson, well, here, let's do Victor Hovland at 22, Sung Jae Im at 22, Morikawa at 30, and Fitz at 25. I've seen him as low as like 18. So I feel really good about all those numbers. And then a couple bombs, Woodland at 150, Webb Simpson at 125, and Kevin Kisner at 125. So those were the bombs. I don't think I'm going to go beyond that. I like the Cam Young, Hovland, Sungjae, Morikawa Fitz, all in that 22 to 30 range.
Yeah, I like those calls. I got a little extra money in my betting account because I bet the Broncos tonight, and they came through with a nice little cover on Monday Night Football.
They did, dude. The Chargers are terrible, dude. I feel so bad for
dude. Just that game in general was very painful. Like I missed the first half because I was at softball, and I came back and I was just watching the second half. I was like, "What is this football?" Like, I mean, I don't have much room to talk. The Ravens are pretty bad themselves, so I don't know. That's a whole that'll be for mine and Chris's fantasy football show later this week, which will be back this Thursday or Wednesday this week. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. I like Fitz, Cam Young in the 20s. Dropping down a little more. I like the Aaron Wise and Taylor Montgomery's in the 50s kind of range. Bomb wise, I like Putnam. I like Fowler. Oh, Fowler's not really a bomb anymore. I think he's like 75 to 1. That's kind of that's like the lowest I've seen Ricky in a while. But JT Poston 100 to 1. I like that. Yeah, man, these are some good names. Wyndham Clark 125. I like that. Man, Gary Woodland 150. That is screaming
again. A couple shekels on Woodland just seems like why not?
Mullinex 150. Chez Reavie 300 to 1. I like that. Where is SH Kim? I don't see him anywhere. What's his number? 100 to 1. I like that. So that's SH Kim 100 to 1. Yeah, we'll tweet out our betting card. We'll put it on Discord. If you're not in our Discord, please join it. The link is in the description of the video. Join the Discord. We chat in there all week. We sweat out our bets, and yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, short and sweet, Rick. We'll remind everybody to subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia channel and leave a comment. We've posted a number of things that are, tell us who's your favorite guy below 6K. Give us your pick to win. Rick, who do you think is going to win this week? Let's throw it out there. Who are our picks to win this week? Who do you like?
I'll roll with Matt Fitzpatrick. I think he's the guy to win this week.
I love Fitz. I love the call on Fitz, but because you've thrown him out there, I don't want to ride your coattails. I'd like to give the people somebody a little bit different. So I am going to I'm going to go out on a limb and say Scotty Scheffler right above him, out of nowhere, wins this tournament, gets back on.
out of the number one player out of nowhere.
Number one player in the world golfer. Yeah.
I'll say one thing for our fans out there. Tomorrow is my birthday, and typically on my birthday weeks, I usually have nice positive betting weeks. So if you're gonna follow my card, this is a good week to follow it because it is my birthday, and I usually tend to have a little bit of good luck during my birthday week. So we'll see.
Happy birthday, man! How old are you gonna be?
I will be 37 tomorrow, or I'll be 37 in an hour.
37 years old tomorrow. I feel so bad. I'm gonna miss our dinner on Thursday, man.
It'll be all right. We're doing a nice little steakhouse at Pachanga. You wish you could come.
I know, dude. I don't get back until late from Bentonville, Arkansas, which I'll be at for the next 3 days. But hey, you know what? We'll celebrate at the golf tournament on Monday.
Yeah.
May even have a little present for you.
All right. Sounds good. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate everybody out there. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Follow us on Twitter. Our handles are there. Join the Discord, as Rick said. Good luck this week, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Rick.
See you guys.